You'll find that with evil, it can take many forms. Here's your look at the Ace Miss Toys It Chapter 2 Cubits Pennywise Spider Version 1. Adapted from Stephen King's classic 1986 book, the 2019 film It Chapter 2 introduces Pennywise in his first spider form. Now horror fans can collect this terrifying entity as a 6.69-inch cubits figure. This Pennywise spider figure features swinging arms, rotating hands, and a head with 25 movable joints. Before we spend some time with a rather scary-looking spider, I'd like to first thank the folks over at Ace Miss Toys that did provide the sample of the Cubits It Chapter 2 Spider Pennywise Version 1. Wow, that's a bit of a mouthful that we could have a look in this review. I'll provide links down below in the video description if you guys are interested to get one for yourself. There is also a version 2, Pennywise with spider form, that we will be looking at in also an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Now, there are different ways that you can actually pose this guy. If I have him, for example, on at least 3 of the 4 legs, sort of in a walking pose, then we're going to measure it based on this. Now, you can also prop this guy up a little higher if you want to get the full experience of seeing what his scary face looks like. Based on this alone, though, I'm going to take the tape measure. I'm going to get things first going in inches. And measuring to the very end of his hind leg to the front of its claw, spider form Pennywise version 1 is about 5.5 inches in length. Or it's going to be about, 13.5 centimeters long. Then to measure how tall it is, based on, again, the configuration I have for right now. Pennywise is 5 inches in height, or the figure, again, is about 13 centimeters tall. Spider form Pennywise was one of my favorite looks that the character had in It Chapter 2, and it's nicely replicated here thanks to the folks over at Ace Miss Toys. What they have done is sort of given us a stylized version of Pennywise. You can certainly see by the way they've sculpted his face that he sort of has more of a slightly cartoonier look to it. He does have those several rows of teeth, and while there is any articulation to be spoken of, at least in his mouth, you can at least see there's a lot of cool sculpting going on here. While maybe not as much of the top teeth that you can see until you actually tip it upside down like this. You can see there's 4 rows of teeth at least, another 3 or 4 rows down below. The plastic that they've used for the head and the teeth are not a hard plastic, but not a soft plastic either. And like I said, it doesn't have any articulation at all in the face. There is some articulation in the face, but it's only just to rock it back and forth. That's about as much mileage as you can get from the mold. Some nice cracks that they've also developed here on the top of the forehead. You can see as well how glowing those yellow eyes are. You can see it outlined very nicely in black. And some really bold panel lining that they've also added, extending out from the mouth, running up down the middle of the eye, and then out the top there as well. You can see as well that they've added some really nice additional details, like, for example, little wrinkles on the sides of his eye, for example. The section of the furrowed brow, you can sort of see there's like a line in the middle there. And again, they really accented the cheeks on the sculpting of the face. It's just a very horrific and yet a little bit more simplified look design of Pennywise. The hair is also something I really like also as well. It's a good contrast really to the very bright face that they've sculpted, while the back of the hair is sort of more of a fiery orange. There's a lot of cool colors of darker oranges and reds added in there as well, airbrushed I'm guessing, but giving us a really nice look for Pennywise's head. While though the rest of his body still looks pretty much like Pennywise's costume, you can see that it's been quite changed and disfigured by the way now he's extended out these extra legs here. The body itself, if I can flip this up, does have again the colored piece that he has just below his head. Some pom-poms added in there as well in a dark kind of burgundy color, and he's also got the same burgundy red also paneled off here, or top and the bottom of the sash belt that he has. Each of the individual legs also does carry over that same color scheme, darker gray making up the majority of the legs with only just the ruffled sleeves sticking out at the bottom. You also have a little bit of these pom-poms that he has at the bottom, sort of like what he has also in the movie as well. Now, again, there's a lot of articulation, but there's not a lot of articulation necessarily in the head. Again, the limitations in the head are only that you can rotate the head back and forth this way. You can only move it only up and down this way, but more of the articulation is sort of encompassed in the actual body. The body is that of course, the spider. Now, again, based on the configuration I have for right now, gives him more of a walking pose if you wanted to have him walking across your shelf. Let's hope he's not walking on his own. There is also another configuration I have certainly seen online as well, where they have then taken like the arms. Now, with all of these, they have ratcheted joints, or I should say hinge joints. There's a hinge joint there in what would be his elbow that allows the arm to rotate back and forth this way. You can rotate the arm as well this way. And there's also a hinge joint of what you would consider, I suppose, the claw. That also is on the end there. Each of the smaller claws also have, again, all the same articulation, knuckle joint or hinge joint there about where the elbow would be, and another hinge joint on the end of the leg there as well. Now, again, like the configuration that I've also seen online, if you did want to get this guy more propped upright, I've seen images where they sort of have like the claws, for example, sort of like this. And then they've also then taken these front legs and they've angled them upward, kind of very similar like this, bringing out the legs. And then you can take then these back legs, instead of having them more sideways, you can kind of bring them around, bring these legs around. And I've seen them kind of more where they use them as almost serviceable legs. And again, you just want to bring them back like this. And that sort of gives you kind of more of a pose where, like Pennywise, for example, is a little bit more upright. Kind of like that. And that gives you kind of more of the experience of seeing just how frightfully sinister this guy actually does look. I do actually think there's a lot of articulation, though, in the leg, though, again, it's entirely up to you how you really would want to pose this guy. There's no articulation necessarily for his body. I thought maybe there may have been articulated points, at least in the torso, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So when it comes to certainly the posability on Pennywise, what you can do at least for him is only just, again, a mild swivel back and forth, and then already the mentioned areas. There's a hinge joint there, a hinge joint there in the leg. There's also a hinge joint also in the claw, basically that times 4. And again, just entirely up to you how you would like to have this guy posed. I think he's a really fun-looking figure. He's, again, a little bit more... Again, I keep saying the word stylized, but that's essentially what he is. He's got a little more of a stylized look than what you're traditionally used to seeing when it comes to Pennywise collectibles. But I think he certainly makes for a very fun-looking collectible. Just getting his legs to straighten out here. Bring the legs around. There we go. Get everything all nicely posed. Now, again, there is also a version 2 Pennywise that essentially is going to be like this head sculpt, or this body, I should say, with a slightly different head sculpt. It's the one that has the full row of teeth where you don't actually see his face. I'm just going to get this guy to actually be in a somewhat serviceable pose for while we wrap up the review here. Just again, bring back the legs. Yeah, again, there is a version 2 Pennywise that is the spider shape, but it does have, again, like the rows of the teeth, where it's all basically just the mouth alone. We are going to be looking at that one in an upcoming video. And again, if you guys are interested to get this one for yourself, it is available, I believe, as of right now, over on Ace Toys website, to which, once again, I can provide the link down below in the video description. Here are the final looks as we wrap up things with the Cubits It Chapter 2 Pennywise in spider form. This is, again, the version 1. The version 2 we will be looking at in an upcoming review. And the Spider 2 is the version that basically has all the entire mouth of teeth, where you don't actually see Pennywise's eyes. I did want to actually look at these individually, simply just because there's a lot of appeal to either one of them. You may decide for yourself that you like the full row of teeth and decide for yourself you only want to get version 2. But I would certainly encourage getting version 1 and version 2 while the bodies still seem to be the same between the two, and they're sharing a lot of the same molds together. It's really the heads that differentiate one from the other. And I did want to start the reviews, at least when it came to these two, by looking at the one that's the most looking like Pennywise, though the rest of his body, again, has been very distorted to mimic that of a spider. This is also, by the way, the other configuration I've seen most images online of this guy being in, where sort of, again, like the legs were on the back, the legs were bent on the side, and sort of the front were supporting claws to kind of keep it upright, where you could see the face a little bit better. I wasn't able to really quite pull it off successfully in the review. Did, though, want to fix things up here in final looks where you guys can get the full experience of just how terrifying this guy actually does look. Now, again, if you guys are interested and would like to get your hands here on Pennywise, whether it be version 1, whether it be version 2, or you'd like to get both versions of them, they should be available right now online. And the price point is around $40. I think they're like $39.99 if you wanted to get them individually. And that works, I think, here in Canada to about $60. A little less than $60. Really great looking figures, though, if you like, again, like the more simplified look. Again, lots of detailing and lots of posability to really, when you think of it, that each of the individual legs share all the same articulation points, the elbow joint, the wrist joint, and again, you can't help but also see that he has in the shoulders there as well. Once again, a big thank you to the folks over at Ace Toys that did provide the sample of the Cubits It Chapter 2 Pennywise version 1. Again, we will be looking at version 2 in the upcoming review. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And as well, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and on board to see more, because again, we are going to be looking at version 2 Pennywise in the spider form, and we will also be looking at a couple of other Ace reviews. Those will be coming up shortly also as well. But make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, make sure you're turning on the bell notification, and making sure that you're keeping all of your spider peepers peeled to this channel for all the new regular content that's coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.